frankincense, one of the gifts given by the 3 wise men to the newborn Christ. As rare and as precious as gold, its smoke was thought to have divine powers that directly connected man to his God. From its source in Oman, an epic trade route was forged across Arabia to the Holy Lands, where it was shipped throughout the ancient world. And along the way, entire civilizations emerged from the desert and prospered. Now, 5,000 years after the frankincense trade began, I'm following in the footsteps of one of the great epic trade routes of ancient times. My journey starts high in the Dhofar Mountains of southern Oman. For thousands of years, this is where the finest frankincense came from. It was harvested from the highly valuable trees that covered these hilltops. Today, Musallam al-Mari is one of the last people who still make a living from the trade.
This is Boswellia sacra, better known as the frankincense tree.
This is how frankincense is produced. A shallow cut is made in the bark and the frankincense sap starts to bleed.
No, look, 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 look. So this here is frankincense. It has a little smell, but not a very strong one.
Each cut will produce a small handful of frankincense resin. A few days later, once it's hardened, Musallam will return to collect it. He brings the resin back to dry out in this cave, his home for the 3 months of the harvest season. This batch has been drying for a week.
Quite soft, but it's not as gummy as the stuff that I got right from the tree.
Exactly. They need to be dry for another few days.
Okay.
Then it will be, then Musallam will clean them.
Yeah. Look at this. It's like diamonds.
Yeah. Smell it? Okay. Fantastic, isn't it?
Beautiful.
I want to take some frankincense with me, and just like the ancient traders did, use some of my supply to pay my way en route.
So, Musallam, if I were to buy 90 kilograms, because I've got a long journey, I've got 2,000 miles to travel. If I were to buy that, what is the going rate for frankincense at this time? Okay.
He said to you, okay. He's happy to sell his frankincense 240 riyals.
240 riyals.
Yeah, 240.
For the whole 90 kilos?
For the whole 90 kilos, yeah.
So that's about £300.
When demand for frankincense was at its height, the majority of it went to the emperors and upper-class citizens of the Roman Empire. Back then, the amount I'm buying would have cost the same as the average Roman earned in a year.
We're going to need camels or something.
The frankincense traders walked the entire length of the Arabian Peninsula to the Holy Lands. From here, the frankincense was shipped to the empires of the ancient world. I'm going to attempt to follow that epic trail. I've come down from the mountains to where the original camel trains started their journey. There to meet me are the descendants of those first traders, the Al-Mari tribe, with their camels. Together, we're going to walk towards the Yemeni border in the footsteps of the ancient camel caravans.
So, this is my frankincense, and as you can see, there's this extraordinary scene around me.
Everyone crowds round, demanding to inspect my frankincense.
I have to take this all the way.
Its name is called Haugri, which is the
Haugri
best.
is the very good.
Good
So
one.
I bought well. I did well.
Before we set off, the sister of one of the tribesmen asks to see me. As is custom, she stands away from the men. I take a handful of my frankincense and we trade gifts.
Yeah, okay. This is the gift from Khiyar to wearing the clothing. Yeah. She said here it's normal to wearing it.
Oh, I see. Okay. It looks good.
Before the journey, Ria performs a traditional ritual with my frankincense. This tribal blessing also has a practical purpose.
This is the way you keep your clothes smelling fresh and...
Exactly.
Okay.
With the blessing over, we load my cargo. The original traders would have packed up to 1,000 camels per journey, each one with 200 kilos. I'm having trouble loading just one.
So this camel is going to be carrying... I don't think he really wants to be carrying 80 kilos of frankincense. It's like going away on a family holiday and packing the car. You know, everyone has their way of packing the car. Clearly, each one of these guys has got their way of tying a knot.
Good.
It's good? This man has just given me his dagger. And do I really need a gun?
Traditionally, I mean, the people used to have their guns to secure the journey and also. So he's offering you a gun.
So he's going to give me his gun.
Dressed like the old style.
Okay.
People.
I know nothing, precisely nothing about guns. Is it loaded? It's not loaded.
No, no loaded. No.
Are you sure? Can you show me?
Yes, so sure.
Show me that it's not loaded. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
The weapons are just for show. Today, most of these men carry no more than a mobile phone and car keys.
So I carry like this?
Yes.
Like that? So this is good. So I now have my dagger, I have my gun, I just need my camel. This is a camel, so should I take the camel?
That's your camel there.
This is my camel here? Okay. I'm ready. We go. I'm following you.
The camel trains would have been accompanied by up to 60 men who would take charge of the camels and protect the cargo. Today, we're aiming to walk 12 miles. The original caravans would have covered twice that distance in the same time.
When the frankincense was all gathered, it was then taken on caravans like this to a central trading point. And from that trading point, it was then taken by one group of people. They were called the Manaeans. They actually originate in Yemen, but they would come here to the Dhofar region of Oman with their caravans of camels, and they would collect all the incense and make the extraordinary journey to the port of Gaza, 2,000 miles to the north. And that journey would take roughly 180 to 210 days. And I've been walking for a couple of hours. And it's hard to conceive having that sort of length of journey ahead of me. It is ahead of me, but luckily I'm not having to rely on my feet and this guy to get me there.
Our caravan consists of 300 camels, most of them belonging to this man, Albert. He's 50 years old, and with 2 marriages behind him, both arranged and both failed, he now lives with his camels day and night and makes money from selling their milk and newborn calves. And although he knows their ways better than anyone, getting all 300 of them to move in the same direction is difficult enough, even without a camera crew in the way.
There's been a mutiny amongst our camels. All the young camels that weren't loaded have bolted round the side, and there's a lot of shouting going on into mobile phones, which is obviously the modern way of herding camels. And I'm just going to try and find out what we do now, because we've obviously all got separated.
4-wheel drive soon round them up, but this would have been a disaster for the ancient traders. Losing control of their camels would have cost them precious time and possibly the loss of some of their cargo.
So our mutineer camels have been rounded up again, and this is a very novel way of getting them up this slope. We, the camera crew that's freaked them out in the first place, have moved back, but that lorry, the truck that they're following, has got a big tank of water in it, and the smell of the water is enough to pull the camels up the slope. How far can a camel travel without drinking?
1 month.
1 month? No problem.
Albert doesn't need much sustenance either. He lives mostly on his camel's milk, which he thinks gives him superhuman strength.
Look at you.
He had
Did you have your appendix out?
no, he had the gallbladder out, and 3 times they attempt to get him to sleep.
And they couldn't do it.
They couldn't.
I wouldn't want to be in a fight with him. I think you would win.
He said he could carry you all the way around this place.
He could? Ready? No, you can't. You've got the gun and everything. That's it. I don't feel this is very elegant at all.
Before I know it, Albert has got me dancing. This dance is how the Almari tribe seal their marriage. I think Albert may have chosen me as wife number 3.
Goodness knows what's going to happen. How quickly can you get a divorce in Oman? That's what I want to know. The sun is going down, the temperatures drop dramatically, and suddenly this just feels like the best place in the world to be, surrounded by all these insane men. But I wish this guy was coming with me, because I think we'd have some adventures. Hey, Albert.
Yes.
Everything is good?
Yes, really.
Okay. So shall I unload him here? Okay.
After 10 hours, we've covered the 12 miles to the tribe's traditional campsite. I'm exhausted, but for the men of the Almari tribe, the party is just beginning. As soon as they arrive, it's tradition for them to play a game called muftit that tests their strength. Holding 2 rocks, they leap as far as they can. 96-year-old Musalem was the reigning champion for 40 years, and he's not giving up just yet. But Albert's not going to be upstaged for long. I cheer from the sidelines with the women. The Almari tribe uses dance to tell the story of what happened to each of them during their long journey. And they dance late into the night. Tomorrow, I leave Albert and his tribe to follow the trail into Yemen, a country the Foreign Office lists as one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The Yemeni border is 1 hour's drive from the camp, and I'm nervous. Nearly 40 years of civil unrest between the government and the desert tribes has been made worse by the recent discovery of oil and gas. Independent travel is not advised, and we're not even sure we'll be granted visas to enter.
This is our first really big test, I think, this border crossing. Yemen has a slightly dodgy reputation at the moment. I know this border isn't used too much, so what they're going to think of a British woman with 2 large, sticky, boiled sweet-like sackfuls of incense, I have no idea. Salaam alaikum. Salam.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The original frankincense traders faced checkpoints as well.
Salam alaikum.
Every time they crossed tribal lines, they had to negotiate their passage with a payment of frankincense.
It's from Dhofar, Omani frankincense.
The customs officials don't want any of mine, but their security check is very thorough, and they go through everything.
There you are, you can have a refill in there.
From here on, I have to travel with a security team. Julian Davies is an ex-British Army major who's in charge of our safety.
Threat from Al-Qaeda does exist, and there's a pretty steady tempo of attacks in the country. Now, the first thing is that there's a sequence of events I want things to follow if we do have an incident or an accident.
Julian has left me in no doubt that we're entering dangerous territory. There's only one road to our next stop, and it takes us right through the ancestral homeland of Osama bin Laden.
Now, what happened in the last Al-Qaeda attack was that a tourist convoy was bunched up, and they were all caught up in an ambush on the side of a popular tourist route, not that far from here, actually. And as the tourist convoy passed, they opened fire with automatic weapons and tragically killed 2 Belgian tourists and a Yemeni driver.
Surely the way to travel in this sort of situation is to try and be relatively low-key. That would be my feeling. But now we've got a police escort. We've got a van with 4 guys with their uniforms on and big guns. And I would say that would make us more of a target, but then I'm not a Yemeni policeman.
As we get closer to our destination, signs of life emerge from the desert. The mud brick houses that line the road could have been built yesterday or 1,000 years ago. Then the world's first city of skyscrapers appears on the horizon. This is Shabam. When the first frankincense traders passed through here 3,000 years ago, it was little more than a campsite. But prosperity brought by their trade built the world's first high-rise city. Each of its 500 buildings is made from mud. The tallest is 11 stories high. In the shade of the city gates is an open-air tea shop that's rumoured to have been running for 1,000 years. It's called, unsurprisingly, the 1,000-year-old tea shop. Arabic tea is strong, sweet and delicious. And this one is spiced with ginger.
It's the sort of thing your mum would give you when you had a cold.
Dominoes is the game of choice to while away the time here. These men, like most in Shabam, work the farms that surround the city. They come here to escape the midday sun. Inas is to be my translator here.
So much.
How are you? How do you feel?
Quite long journey, quite tired.
I
but
understand.
This is just, what a beautiful place.
She's arranged for me to attend the blessing of a newborn child. It's a huge honour and a wonderful opportunity to see inside these incredible buildings.
You know, when you've seen a lot of pictures and you've heard a lot about a place, it's almost that it's mythical, that you can't really believe it actually exists. They really are mud skyscrapers, aren't they? Assalamu alaikum.
I think we should go this way.
This way?
Yeah.
That lady who just went past us, she's completely covered. You're not, and I definitely am not. Is that going to be a problem here?
No, definitely not. These people are still stick to the traditions, to wear black, to be all in black.
Yeah.
Because I live in the other city, in Sana'a, in the capital, life there is different. I can't dress this way. The main thing is that I'm covering all my skin and my hair.
Yeah.
For you, they expect that you don't wear like them because you've got your own lifestyle, you've got your own beliefs, so they don't mind.
But it's not, and so it's not offensive if I'm not covered
Not
up.
at all.
Close?
Yeah, this is actually the house. See, the girls are waiting for us. Salam, ya jama'a.
We're meeting the Salam family, and as is custom here, the entire extended family lives together in the same house.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum, Talib. كيف حالك? Allah يحييك.
Handprints on the wall.
Yeah.
Take my shoes off.
We need to take our shoes here.
Okay.
كيف حالك? Let's get in. Hi,
The
hi,
women
hi.
of the house live behind closed doors and behind the veil. To be welcomed in is a real privilege.
حبيبي كيف انتي؟
انت انت مبسوطه
الحمد لله.
غير حبيبتي
الله يحفظك. هذه كيت.
Assalamu alaikum.
أفراح.
Afra.
Afra is the mother of the child and is the one who's going to perform the blessing. It's an ancient custom dating back at least 2,000 years, far older than Islam.
One of my first duties as a guest in this household is to provide frankincense for the blessing of a child, which is happening today. We have a little problem, though, of how to film it, because there are absolutely no men allowed in this room while the blessing goes on. It's only the women and the children of the household. So we're going to just set up a camera. The camera crew have got to clear off, and it'll just be me and the girls.
Afra's baby girl, Heba, is 6 months old. Most children are blessed at around this age. She uses the frankincense smoke to cleanse and purify the child and to ward away evil spirits. I wonder whether the frankincense brought by the 3 wise men was used this way to bless the baby Jesus. Half an hour later, the blessing is complete. Every child born in Shabam is welcomed this way. Now Heba joins them, protected by a tradition as old as the frankincense trail. The calm of the blessing has made it easy to forget that this desert frontier town stands at the edge of a troubled country.
Are there any problems along this route here with local tribes or anything like that?
Before we leave, the police warn Julian of potential danger along the road to our next stop, the city of Shabwa.
Anything further west is a really strong tribal area.
Right.
And the problems between the tribes means that some of the tribes will kidnap any foreigners who go into the area as a bargaining tool. Anything west of there really is a no-go area as far as foreigners are concerned.
Right. That's really disappointing.
So we're not allowed to go the way of the original traders to Shabwa, but we can pick up another part of the trail that began with the advent of sea trade 2,000 years ago, when frankincense was shipped to Kana and then carried overland.
This tribal conflict is real. They're not just making it up, but it's not obvious to a foreigner. You can't, you don't pick it up. There aren't sort of, you know, borders as such, and it's not like you know when you're crossing a border into hostile territory. It's sort of insidious. It could come from anywhere. People keep telling you there is a risk, there is a risk. So at the back of your mind, it's like you're being forced to have a kind of jumpy feeling that you wouldn't normally have, because it doesn't, out there, it doesn't feel like you need to be jumpy. It really doesn't.
So we head off away from the danger zone and towards the ancient seaport of Kana, 300 miles away. Outside, it's 47 degrees and there's uninhabited desert as far as the eye can see. But amazingly, in the middle of nowhere is a roadside cafe.
The main meal for us.
Kind of healthier, really. It's fresh.
People here don't like any food that is not fresh and cooked at the same time.
Okay.
They will refuse it.
We've been here, I would say, less than 10 minutes. And the Yemeni end has done rather better than the Western end. God, these guys eat fast. So, I think they want to get back on the road, which is probably a good thing, because we've still got many, many hours to travel.
After driving all day, we reach the Arabian Sea and the port of Kana. This now empty bay was once a major hub for the frankincense trade. Up to 10,000 tons of it was shipped here annually from Oman, and an entire city was built around its wealth.
It's amazing to think that, well, according to the Roman historian Pliny, 500 BC to 500 AD, and that's a long time, that's 1,000 years. This was one of the most important ports of the Arabian Gulf.
These ruins are all that remain of the fortified warehouses that stored the frankincense. The cargo was so valuable, they were built like ancient bank vaults.
This city was rumoured to be so rich that the traders who lived here in their stone houses had gold and silver around their doors, apparently. Down there, those buildings would have been stuffed to the gunnels with frankincense. And out there, not little fishing boats, but sailing boats and rowing boats that had come all the way from Dhofar in Oman, where I started my journey, to here, carrying their priceless cargo. Out there would have been camel caravans, carrying this frankincense way into the heartland of Yemen.
The next morning, I'm following the trail north to find one of the great monuments of the frankincense trade. It's hostile territory, and I'm travelling with the protection of the Yemeni army.
It's hard to imagine what would have been going through the cameleers' heads when they got to this point in the trail. This landscape is very unforgiving. I mean, it's early in the morning now, and it's already searingly hot. The sun's just kicking off all this black rock and sand.
As many as 10,000 loaded camels walked along this track each year, tirelessly trudging 12 hours a day. Our lead vehicle barely makes it to mid-morning before its tyre punctures.
It's gone completely now.
We come to a complete stop, 3 miles away from the landmark I've come to see.
Basically what's happening is that the drivers of our vehicles don't want to go any further up this wadi because they're worried about their cars.
Maybe 1 hour. Go.
1 hour, yeah, no, I know. That's why we have to start.
With no alternative, we have to walk.
This barely discernible path is 2,000 years old, and it was the principal route that every single caravan took. And the reason that we know that they definitely took this route is because the tribe in Shabwa was so powerful that it took tax from every single caravan. And the way that they did that was that they built this astonishing gate across this wadi. And every caravan was filtered down here and through this gate. And if they didn't, if they thought, ha-ha, we can be sneaky because there must be lots of ways across this mountain, they could be punished. And it wasn't just any old punishment, it was death.
This ancient gate is a reminder of a forgotten civilization which became rich on the frankincense trade. For close to 1,000 years, the tribes who controlled this region claimed a quarter of all the goods that passed through here. Generations of frankincense traders had to pay up before they could continue their journey north. But the ongoing tribal conflict means I can't follow their path towards Saudi Arabia. Instead, I have to skirt around the edge of the danger zone to Aden, Yemen's modern capital of the frankincense trade. Seven hours later, the volcanic skyline of Aden appears on the horizon. Its port is the oldest and deepest in Arabia, and the city is built in the crater of an extinct volcano. Its strategic position made it a target for the British Empire, which ruled here from 1839 to 1967. I'm joining Sheikh Tariq, a lawyer who remembers those colonial days.
Did Aden feel quite British during the British era?
Oh yes, certainly very much so.
So did you have things like the red post boxes and...
All around.
Really?
Imagine, in the early 50s, brand new buildings, 5 to 6 stories. All of these, 80 to 90%, were occupied by the British families.
Although Aden was a British colony for 128 years, there's little left of any colonial influence. Except, of course, for a statue of the most commemorated British monarch in history.
I can't believe there's still a statue of Queen Victoria in Aden.
Well, after the socialists came in, after the independence, then this was removed. Since then, the British government continued to ask for it.
Oh, really? They wanted it back?
They said, we want it. If you don't want it, where is our Queen Victoria statue? We want it back. We will take it back. We want it. And it was not given to them until the Duke of York came here. And when he said that Queen Victoria was his great-grandmother, they felt so shy and sentimental about it that they got it out somewhere. She was cleaned up and then put here.
And there she is.
That's it.
In all her slightly rotund glory. But would most people living in Aden today, I mean, do they think it's slightly strange to have a British queen?
Some of them feel strange about it, but it's being tolerated.
The people of Aden have had to tolerate not only the British, but the Russians and the Portuguese, who also ruled here. Now its colonial days are long gone, but the port's prosperity remains, and it's become the hub from which frankincense is shipped across the globe. I've come to the warehouse of one of the world's biggest traders.
This is the main warehouse district of Aden, and I'm hoping that I can find someone who can tell me a bit about this frankincense. Oh, look at this place. It's definitely selling aromatics. It's amazing. This way. Okay. Shukran. Gosh, I feel like I've gone back about 200 years in time. This is amazing. Assalamu alaikum.
Safaraz was born an incense trader. 4 generations of his family have operated out of this warehouse. The smoke of the resin he sells will rise in temples and churches all over the world.
My little sack is feeling very insignificant all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Safaraz employs a team of professional incense graders who sort through the frankincense and take out all the impurities. Like diamonds, each lump of resin is graded according to its clarity and weight.
This warehouse is absolutely packed to the roof with sacks. It's clearly still a thriving business.
This is actually used in a variety of uses. One of it is for household burning.
Okay.
And it is also used in medicine and perfumes also.
Extracts from the frankincense shipped from here will be used to make some of the world's best-known perfume brands.
Okay, well, I'm slightly embarrassed now to show you my pathetic little store of frankincense compared to yours.
Yeah.
But I'd love to know what you think of it.
Right.
Where would this be in the scale of good to bad?
Well, this is on the higher side of the very good one. You know, absolute, you know, stunning,
top quality.
Top quality. This is the top of the range.
Top of the range?
Yeah, this is the top of the range.
Safaraz said he'd be able to sell my frankincense for 4 times the amount I bought it for in Oman. 3,000 years on, frankincense still has the power to generate wealth in this ancient port. The next day, I couldn't resist going to see one of the world's craziest sporting events. It's taking place in a village just off the road north of Aden. I catch a lift with a local. What I'm about to witness is camel jumping. Not camels jumping, but men jumping camels. Unsurprisingly, the men of the Saranik tribe are the only people in the world who practice this sport. The camels are lined up into position, ready for the big event.
So this is obviously how you prepare to jump over a camel. Or if the rumour is true, several camels. Just to give you an idea of height, I'm about 5'9". This camel has got to be over 2 meters in height.
Camel jumping is a rite of passage for the young men of the Saranik tribe. They claim they don't use weapons in battle. They rely instead on their famed stamina and strength to overcome their enemies. Camel jumping is a way of honing and proving that physical prowess. These are today's competitors. The rules are simple. The man who jumps cleanly over the most camels is the winner.
There's obviously a real pride in this. And everyone's just kind of gathering around. They've just kind of been trickling in from the villages.
With the camels firmly held in place by their tails, the competition starts. The favourite, Ahmed, makes the warm-up 2-camel jump look easy. But this is just the start, and Mohammed, the smallest of all the competitors, is not going to let lack of stature be a handicap.
You can hardly bear to watch.
Three camels prove a hump too far for some.
It's not funny. That's really hard.
And then it's 4 camels and just 2 men left in the running.
Someone's jumping now, someone's going to jump now. That's 4 camels. This just seems madness. I mean, some of the guys were barely clearing 4 camels. 5 camels has got to be too many, surely.
Without delay, Ahmed charges in, full steam ahead. Now the favourite is out, 16-year-old Mohammed is the last one left. Tribal respect is won with these jumps. If he makes this, he'll be considered a warrior. And in the end, there can only be one champion. Mohammed's prize is the admiration of the entire tribe.
Where is he? Here he is. Oh, no. Oh, should we give him a clap him? Yay. You did really good. Really well. Shukran.
I'm leaving the Zaranite tribe and the desert plains to cross the Haraz mountain range, the home of the highest peaks in the Arabian Peninsula. 3,000 meters above sea level, it's a different world up here. 95% of Yemen's land is desert, so these rich green valleys are treasured for agriculture. Terraces cut into the steep cliffs use every corner of its fertile land. High above them, at the top of the Haraz Ridge, medieval fortresses stand guard. Their towers were built from the granite cliffs they rest on. Today, people visit them for their magnificent views, but once they defended the nation's capital. Cradled in the heart of the Yemeni highlands is the ancient, beautiful city of Sana'a. It's known as Sand City, after the son of Noah, who, according to legend, built it on the highest ground he could find after the waters of the Great Flood had subsided. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and like a living museum. At the heart of the old city is the spice market, where goods have been bought and sold for thousands of years.
This Frankincense.
Oh, it's not good quality though.
Fire. Smile. Fire.
No, this isn't what I'm looking for. Do you know the white frankincense, like
yes,
like Omani?
Yes. Like this.
Ah, that's looking a little better.
For this, for carbon, number 1, original.
This is number 1, is it?
Yes. Excuse me, look, stop. 1 minute.
You're such
This
a bully.
frankincense. Good, very good. For this, madam. Good. Yes.
What are you saying? I don't smell that bad. Do you use this at home?
Yes.
Yeah? For what?
House, for kanisa, good.
For karisa?
Kanisa.
For
Yes.
against insects?
Yes.
Brilliant.
No.
On Sana'a's streets, many women are veiled. So far, I haven't worn one, but tomorrow I leave for Saudi Arabia, a country so shut off from the outside world, I have no idea what to expect or what I'll have to wear. But Inas is helping me prepare for every possibility.
I'm just worried about how I should behave, you know. I mean, Yemen feels very easy, and I think Saudi's going to be, I don't know, do I sort of walk with my head down? And
there is a stereotype that we don't accept others as they are, and we want them to be just like us.
Yeah.
That is not true in all Arab countries, not just Saudi Arabia. Okay. They accept you as you are.
Okay. What, I mean, are you wearing kind of jeans and a t-shirt under that?
I'm wearing the same thing you're wearing, just underneath it.
So that it is almost like a kind of an overcoat.
Exactly.
Right.
And even in Arabic, it's the same translation for overcoat thing.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Balto means overcoat?
Yes.
Ah, okay. We go now? Where?
Yeah, let's push the street. It's that one.
It's got a whole sign for them and everything.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So Inas is taking me to one of Sanaa's best-known shops for baltas.
What do you suggest for Saudi? Do you think I should go quite simple?
No.
Flashy?
They love flashy, more decoration.
Really?
Really. مقاسها؟ ايش مشكلة هاتو؟ المهم يكون مقاسها.
Well, that's quite elegant. Look at that. What do you think? Yes?
This is the longest.
The longest one they
so
have.
So if it doesn't fit, we have to change the store.
Okay.
And I hope it fits because it looks elegant.
Let's try it.
And better quality, the fabric is better.
Oh yeah, this is long. Oh look. What do you think?
Yeah,
it's good. Okay, so.
And here is the scarf, which is the same.
Oh yeah, okay.
Have a seat. So that we wouldn't look funny in the store.
You're going to have to give me intensive lessons on how to do this. I'm hopeless.
Tonight.
Yeah, I can't even, you know, I can barely put on a kind of, you know, warm muffler scarf. Do I look like Mother Teresa?
If I'm putting makeup and I'm going to a wedding, I have to wear this thing. So please experience my suffering sometimes.
I am experiencing. This is too weird.
And can you breathe?
No.
You look like a Sanaani lady.
Do I look like so I'm looking out of a pillar box? And what about this bit? I mean, when do you have to cover up all of yourself?
You're putting lots of eyeshadow, blah, 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 because, you know, in Arab countries, we put a lot of makeup.
So, can I just ask an incredibly obvious question? Why don't you just wander around with no makeup on looking like
I'm doing it. That's why I'm not wearing the veil.
But you look beautiful. Oh, I don't know, Ines. Really, have I got to take this with me? Oh,
just in case.
Oh. I'm making myself weep. If it wasn't so uncomfortable, it would be really funny. I can't believe what you women go through.
It's just a minor discomfort, and I know it's something that millions of other women go through every day. But having to dress in a certain way has really hit a nerve.
That whole balto experience this afternoon within us was... I mean, it was funny, but at the same time, all my tears weren't entirely hysterical laughter. You suddenly realise how lucky you are as a woman living in the West and not having to dress like that. And now I've got to go to a country which is famous for having very little rights for women. So I'm feeling a little bit kind of mixed at the moment.
The next morning, with my veil in my bag, I have to take a plane to Saudi Arabia because tribal warfare has closed the border with Yemen. I'll be arriving in possibly the most enigmatic country in the world in just over 3 hours. If the border wasn't closed, I could follow the original route due north from Yemen and up the west side of Saudi Arabia. But now I have to fly to the capital, Riyadh, before I can rejoin the trail. Saudi Arabia is a kingdom of contrasts and contradictions. Here, devout faith and extreme wealth have to find a way to coexist. The latest luxury cars cruise the streets, but women are forbidden from driving them. There seems nothing unusual about the airport until I realise there are no women to be seen anywhere. Women in Saudi Arabia are not allowed to go outside their houses alone. They must either be accompanied by another woman or an approved male member of their family. I too must have a male chaperone.
Hello, are you Mr. Dawi?
Yes,
Salaam alaikum.
How are you?
Very good. I had a very good flight. It was good. Thank you very much. Are we ready? Now, do I need to cover my head?
Please.
Okay.
It's better to cover your head.
Okay. I'm not very good at this yet.
No,
I need one of
you
you see, the men's one's much easier to
you
handle.
will learn.
Okay, like that? Is okay?
Yeah, that's
Fine. All right.
I've no idea what the rules are, but Dowie doesn't seem concerned, despite my rather unusual luggage.
This one is very heavy.
Yes.
And very smelly. Thank you. Now, presumably, I can't sit in the front seat. It's not allowed.
You can, but not now.
Right. That's fair enough.
Since the beginning of Islam 1700 years ago, Saudi Arabia has been largely closed off to the non-Muslim world. New government policies have only recently started giving visas to carefully controlled tour groups.
All we hear about are the bad things, the very strict rules and regulations, that women are not allowed to drive, that they're not allowed to work, that they have to travel in the back of the car, not the front.
You want to be in the front?
Well, I don't have to be, but it would be nice to have the choice.
If you want, I will put you in front, but you will change the idea about Saudi life.
You think?
Yes.
You think I'm gonna see a very different Saudi in the next 2 weeks?
Everywhere in Saudi Arabia, you will see different idea. You will change your idea about Saudi.
Do you think a lot of people don't come because, like me, they're worried that, particularly as a woman, all you're going to do is cause offence and you can't go anywhere, you have to be shut away? Is that true?
No, that's wrong idea, because as soon as we go to the center, we will see a lot of ladies.
Okay, can we do that now? Can we go to one now and have a look?
Yes.
Because I'm afraid I'm still doubting you at this point.
Only 3 hours from Yemen, but suddenly I feel I'm back in the West. Riyadh's shopping centres are depressingly similar to those back home. Many of the shops here are recognisable brands.
A lot of these shops are very familiar to me because I'm really surprised, but these are all shops you would see on any British high street.
And they are good customers. They buy a lot.
They buy a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But you know, there are high-heeled shoes, there are short skirts, there's like low-cut
they
things.
do it in the community.
And some women here, they don't cover up so much. It feels more relaxed in here.
Yes. As I told you, life is changing.
Relaxed it may be, but women still need to be accompanied and still have to wear the abaya, whatever they choose to wear underneath. But at least I get a chance to meet and talk to Saudi women here face to face.
I don't understand, because you all wear these, abaya, but can you wear anything you like underneath?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, anything.
Short
Jeans,
skirt?
T-shirt. Yeah, it's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
It's choice.
It's choice. Yeah. And your parents don't mind?
No.
They don't say you can't go out looking like that?
There is people open in Saudi Arabia and there is closed.
Okay. So some families are more free and other families are more strict.
From the moment I arrived, I've been in no doubt that Islam defines life in Saudi Arabia. And the call to prayer makes this immediately obvious to outsiders. Unlike anywhere else I've been, every single shop closes for prayer 5 times a day. And I'm told this happens like clockwork every day of the year.
It's just coming up to 10 to 5 and the call to prayer has sounded. And as you can see, all the shops in this little mall have suddenly closed down and the people are just melting away before my very eyes.
Although this is a fast-changing society, and although I've been able to walk around without covering my head, conservative Islam has an inescapable hold here. Islamic religious law, known as Sharia law, is the law. Just a few blocks from the shopping area is Riyadh's religious centre, Safa Square.
Safa in Arabic means sort of highly polished, gleaming white. And it's here in this square that perhaps that name takes on a very sort of symbolic status, because this is where Saudi Arabia tries to make its society I don't know, more unblemished, highly polished, but they do their cleaning up in a particularly brutal way to us in the West. Because the punishment for crimes like murder, rape and drug smuggling is death. And the way they put people to death is to behead them.
The square is overlooked by the headquarters of the religious police, known as the Mutua. Dr. Abdullah is a senior member of the Mutua and amazingly agreed to be interviewed.
I wanted to ask you about the square here and the fact that this is the square where the public executions take place for people who have done terrible crimes. But to us, it still feels terribly brutal to behead somebody in public.
Okay. Yes, but if you look from the viewpoint of a spectator or from outsider, but if you are the family of the victim of the murder, I think you will understand it.
When an execution takes place, can you sort of describe the scene? What happens?
Well, the executing judge come here and read the sentence, and then the person who execute the penalty will cut the head of the murderer.
Do you prepare them in any way? Do they have a painkiller, or is it just you kneel down? Are their hands tied?
Yes, I think they need some medication before to help them go through the execution of the judgment. But again, in the last few years, we have a lot of people, because of the Islamic education, Islam encourage excusing the murderer.
Oh, really? And so it's not automatic anymore?
No, not automatic. It's not automatic since the beginning.
Wow.
If the parents or the relative of the victim are excuse the killer, then it's their punishment. It's their rights to ask for the killing of the murderer. It's not the state. It's the right of the family of the victim.
So far, it's felt as if that call to prayer has been the only constant on my journey. But when the traders first walked through what's now Saudi territory, Islam didn't exist, and instead of religion, it was the frankincense route that linked the desert tribes of Arabia. Now the most enigmatic and powerful Arabian nation lies ahead of me. In the next programme, I explore the unseen worlds of Saudi Arabia and meet a prince whose head for business has made him one of the richest men on earth.
And are you constantly looking for new companies to invest in?
Oh, yes. I just took a decision.
And in a Bond film.
I cross unexpected and astonishing landscapes.
I am a little bit nervous.
Me too.
You're mad!
In the pristine waters of the Red Sea, I dive an untouched shipwreck. On the city's streets, I meet a generation that's fueled by the wealth of oil. And I explore the ruins of an ancient empire that once flourished on the profits of the frankincense trade.
And that's here, same time, same place, next Thursday. Mock the Week next on BBC Two, and a little bit later.
On Newsnight tonight, education was the mantra, but has it passed the test? We look at New Labour's legacy on the thing they told us mattered most and ask if there's such a thing as a child of Blair. Tonight, 10:30, BBC Two.